All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
I do enjoy Fridays. I really do. I know it's the only way I can get Albert and Kim to show up is to tell them, well, you only have to show up one more time. And that's where we are. A Friday show.
Albert, thank you.
Albert is here. Kim,
how are you?
is here. We've been chitting as we've been preparing. Kim does a lot of work behind the scenes. Albert doesn't do a lot of work behind the scenes, but he does a lot of work on the scene, which is kind of exciting.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Yeah, Albert's doing a lot of work on the scene, Larry.
What can you tell us about the scene?
The scene is that Albert is doing a lot of work on it. All right, Kim, what do you have today? Do you have anything big? Any big news? Been any Coldplay concerts or anything like that?
No Coldplay concerts. Matter of fact, I saw this from Wes. He says, random advice, avoid that kiss cam at the old Coldplay concert.
Yeah. Did you see this is the guy, the poor guy. I mean, I really feel for the guy. Yeah, no, I do. When you're trying to have an affair and you get busted like this, I feel my sympathies are completely with the guy.
And he even says it. Chris Martin says that's what happens when you're having an affair.
You?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You're at that
They don't want
Coldplay.
to be pictured, and then that's all over the internet. And then there's this thing released, the statement from the man pictured there,
Yeah.
except for it wasn't really him. He never really, he did not issue an apology. He did not issue, and it was a pretty good as far as apologies go. We love an apology on the Mark Thompson show, but it wasn't from him. And
that's too bad.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No, he didn't issue that.
No, he did never. He never.
What can you tell us about the scene?
No apology issued yet, Larry.
No.
So that was a fake apology. That was
fake.
Yeah.
I'm bad. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
All right. Wow. So basically, he created this incredibly profitable company. I mean, it's a unicorn type company. It's one of these tech executives that broke through into the billionaire class, and in an instant. Well, I don't want to say it goes poof, because the reality is it's a private company, right? So it's not a publicly held company.
Company might be all right, but
company may be all right. He would probably have to jiggle and jaggle to somehow make this work. He's definitely going to write a check to his wife.
It's not a good look, Mark. It's not a good look.
His marriage is over before the Colbert show is over. I'll put it that way. There will not even be 10 months left in his marriage.
So he's the CEO, and the lady pictured as the head of human resources.
Oh my God, that's a very tough.
What?
Well,
I don't know how you stay on as the head of human resources if you're,
Yeah, you're putting your human in the wrong resources on that one.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I wish those two kids the very best. I hope that they. Usually, the way it all ends up is marriage over and affair over, and you're left, there watching late night television, and not even Colbert is there. I'm devastated that we'll be losing Stephen Colbert in 10 months as Nullifidian. Yeah. We have that story. In fact, I guess we should do it now, and then we'll get into the heavy Epstein stuff and the Trump stuff. Glad everybody's here. Thank you for being here, those who are, and those who aren't. I'd like a full investigation as to why you aren't here right now. Smash the like button.
Smash it
with your iron rod. Smash it like a boss. It helps us in the YouTube universe. And that thumbs up. I, by the way, am rocking the Project 1984 and a half t-shirt, which is available at getmarkmerch.com. Project 1984 and a half is an effort to quietly remind people that we are living, and I don't say this in a smartass way, I say this in a real way, in a kind of Orwellian 1984 type environment when it comes to government, when it comes to there's nothing to see here. There is a lot that's going down right now in America that reminds me of 1984. So we call it Project 1984 and a half as we live it at least we recognize it. And then there are all the great other merch items. Look at that. The Mark Thompson Show socks are a rage.
Socks, yeah.
Yeah, they are. I was going to get them for Kim. They're $15, by the way. They're not. We don't make any money on the merch.
Are they good quality? Are they at least thick socks? Because that's a lot for socks.
You know what, Kim? Here's what I have to say to you. That's exactly it. Why don't you chit yourself just to are they good quality socks? Because that's a lot of money for socks.
$15. They better be great socks.
Oh my God, I just cannot even believe it, Albert. I do not understand it.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
I guess
do they come with a little Mark Thompson foot tickle? I mean, is something extra happening with that?
I don't want to hear you.
I mean, how many pairs of who has the Mark Thompson pair of socks? You'd be like the very few. So it's
true.
Albert, thank you.
Albert, thank you.
Albert gets it. Kim, as usual, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
You don't.
Yeah, you really don't.
I really like the knitted cardigan.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, imagine that, Albert, on a rainy day in front of the fireplace with your Mark Thompson Show cardigan and your Mark Thompson Show socks, all cozy.
Oh,
with the Mr. Rogers music playing in the background.
I love the narrative. Yeah, right. Yeah.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Mr.
You walk into your house, get the outside shoes off for the inside shoes, then you get the outside cardigan for the inside cardigan, exactly like how Mr. Rogers did.
That's exactly it, Albert. Bravo. Well done. I love a good narrative.
Taking a sip of your Coachella coffee while wrapped up in your cardigan. Oh, it's setting a winter scene.
All right. Look, I could sit here and rap with you kids all day, and I plan to do that, but we'll be rapping about some very specific things. Moving on. And
The Mark Thompson Show.
My favorite Britisher joins us bottom of the hour, Anthony Davis from the Midas Touch Network. Yeah. He'll be here bottom of the hour, and of course, it'll be Jim Avila, possibly Michael Shore, in hour 2 as we look at this quite eventful week in America and in the world. Now, what were we going to do? I've totally lost track.
First, let's talk about Colbert.
Colbert, that was it. I knew it was something not Epstein related. Yeah. Okay, so Colbert.
Is anyone surprised? Because, I mean, I know that we have the Retribution tour, and Trump is all celebrating and saying, you know, Colbert's show was worse than his ratings, and I'm celebrating this type of thing. And so Trump is gloating, but I'm and I know we shouldn't be surprised because 60 Minutes, you know, the whole settlement with CBS and Trump and all of this, it seems like they were already capitulating to Trump anyway. But it just feels weird for them not to have a late night show because they're not just canceling Colbert, they're canceling that show.
Right. There will be no late night show. They're getting out of the late night business. I would say that and first of all, I did send you this, Albert. If you check your email, I sent you the ratings for late night television shows. So if you look at the rating graph, this is really a simple graph to read. And I'll just describe it to you before even you need to look at it. And Colbert's ratings are ahead of the other two. Okay, there it is. Late night TV rating trends. And you can see this tracks it, and all the way from 2014, the blue line is Stephen Colbert, the red line is Fallon, and the green line is Kimmel. And you can see that Colbert leads them all, even as you see them slowly tailing off in terms of audience. By the way, the audience viewers numbers pretty impressive still. Yeah, we're still tracking between 1.5 million and 3 million viewers, right? Most of these late night shows, just again to describe it to people listening and not watching, started with somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 to 3.5 and even 4 million shows, 4 million viewers by 2019. So still hanging in there. I mean, you can still make money with those numbers. And then they tail off. Yeah.
That's not even accounting for all the people that watch on YouTube with the clips and the posts and everything else.
That's a very good point. I mean, there are a lot of other ways to monetize the show besides just the live broadcast that is watched either live or watched in delay. But anyway, these numbers pretty much tail off. So the audience trends down to about, again, where we are now. just under 3 million, just north of 2.5 million, anywhere between 2.5 and 3 million. And that's for Colbert. The other shows have dipped below 1.5 million for The Tonight Show and at about 2 million for Jimmy Kimmel. So why do we point to this? I just point to this because when you evaluate what CBS is saying in the context of we're getting out of the late night business, you can say, okay, certainly the audience is trending down. You've seen a diminution of audience across television just generally. There isn't the primetime audience that there used to be. There isn't the audience in television that there used to be. Linear television is going away. It is being replaced by digital. It's being replaced by what Kim is sort of suggesting, which is you can watch clips, you can watch bits, you can watch your show on demand. It is just a generation growing up without the kind of appointment television that we grew up with. Mm-hmm. They are watching nothing except on demand. I mean, this is really the case. That's why when shows like American Idol came along, America's Got Talent's another example. These are kind of day and date shows. And if they're enough of a phenomenon, you end up with, did you see this last night? We want to watch Idol tonight. But Colbert had an element of that, which was, did you see what Stephen Colbert said last night? There was a lot of that. I get that in our emails that are sent to us. Mm-hmm. People saying, hey, did you see what Colbert did a funny bit about blah, blah, blah. But to be fair, I also see it about Kimmel. Kimmel did a funny thing on this. I think Kimmel is brilliant. So I
like him a lot too.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at is, I get it. The audience is siphoned off slowly. They're getting older. They're moving on. The new audience is not there except for, as I say, video on demand. And we're just seeing an attenuation of the audience. The audience is just spread out now across so many other things. Gaming, movies, streamers. I mean, there are just so many things competing with legacy TV. So that's just a reason to look at legacy TV as something that is trending down. Now, let's get to Stephen Colbert just quickly, and then I will move on. Colbert, as we just showed you, was really bucking the trend to a degree. There were enough people still tuning into Stephen Colbert that he is still a financially viable offering in late night TV. His unapologetic skewering of both Trump and his own network. I mean, he really jacked up his own network about making a deal with Donald Trump for what they called a nuisance lawsuit. That gave him a kind of rebel quality that was really cool. But if you're a suit at CBS, I'm sure you don't like it, and you're having to deal with pressure from Trump, and you've already settled with Trump, which speaks to the fact that you essentially don't want any trouble with Trump because you're trying to get this Skydance merger done. It's a whole thing with Paramount. This has nothing to do with anything we've spoken of except for money. So what I would say is that fundamentally, it would seem that all roads lead back to CBS saying, hey, we were going to cancel Colbert and our late night offering anyway, and this is really about the business. It's not about caving to Trump. That's what they've said, right, Kim?
Yep.
But the truth is, they do it right on the heels of this. They say it's a purely financial decision against a challenging backdrop in late night. It is not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. That sounds almost Trumpian, and there's nothing to see here. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
A lot of people in the chat wondering if maybe this was some type of something to do. Yeah, Becky, curious if it was part of the settlement with Trump somehow. Get rid of Colbert.
Interesting. That's a quiet part of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Many legal experts said the deal was an unnecessary concession in a frivolous case. Speaking about the lawsuit that was settled for $16 million. At minimum, it undermined one of TV journalism's most accomplished independent voices. That's the 60 Minutes reference. Some people called it, quote, a big fat bribe. Those were Colbert's words in a blistering monologue a few days ago. They also mentioned speculation in that monologue that CBS's future owners might try to rein him in. So I'd say it's tough to handicap this. The one thing I would say is the timing feels like it's a gift to Trump.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you could have made this decision that you're getting out of the late night business, but the idea somehow that you would make the announcement at the same time, essentially, that you write this check to Trump on a suit that you know you can win, the lawsuit, but you do it because Sherry Redstone wants to make this deal for Paramount to merge with Skydance. So these are the problems when you allow media mergers of this type.
People are saying Colbert loses $40 million a year. Is that what CBS is saying?
I don't know. Is that the number? I mean, you'll have to explain that to me.
I don't know how that's possible when you just showed us the graph that says he's at the top of the game.
Well, I mean, the one thing I would say about that is I don't see how you get that number, 40 million. Show me where that's true. And I'm not leading the parade for keeping Stephen Colbert on the air because he's so profitable. But what I would say is, how do you get to 40 million? I mean, the show's not costing 40 million, is it? So how do you lose 40 million doing it? I mean, just explain the arithmetic to me.
When I watched his speech last night, I don't know how much he gets paid a year. He does say there are 200 people that work there. So I don't know.
Well, you're right. I mean, maybe you can get to 40 million then, but you could slim down the show. That's what they did with Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien had many fewer viewers than Stephen Colbert when he was doing his show on TBS, I think it was. And they just slimmed it down. And finally, it was just, and Conan, of course, he found a rich gold vein of revenue after late night television. He did his own thing. Now he's making a fortune. That whole Conan network of podcasts and live events. And I mean, he's made a fortune. I mean, multiple fortunes doing stuff after late night television. So Colbert could do the same thing. But,
Jim Eaton, speaking of how much Colbert makes a year, Jim Eaton says Colbert wanted to be paid with the Mark Thompson Show socks and merch.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad somebody wants them. Kim is asking questions about them. But
we might have some competition on YouTube, Mark. With I mean, they already post clips, but he might just be huge on YouTube. I feel like.
That's true. His salary is not publicly available, but it's known that he is the host of Late Night with Late Show with Stephen Colbert, says AI. And in typical AI form, AI is trying to BS its way out of the answer. Who's the highest paid late night host? The highest paid late night television hosts are generally considered to be Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon.
Not Kimmel?
Each earning an estimated, anybody? What does the internet say the late night hosts are making? I ask you. Each one, according to the internet, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon are the top compensated late night hosts. How much do they make? Colbert makes $15 million a year, said Randy, who's clearly just looked it up, and that's right. Colbert and thank you, John, for playing the game without Googling it. The highest late night television hosts, highest paid, are Colbert and Fallon, each earning an estimated $15 million a year.
Yeah.
And so when you look at that, maybe it is possible to lose 40 million. I don't know, but
Fallon is great with singing and goofing off with guests, but he lacks the political zing, the social commentary that I think a lot of people tune into late night for. So for that reason, I'm surprised Fallon is on the top moneymaker there.
I think Kim is sort of right about this. I do think that
sort of right. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that you're right I think here's why I'm laboring a bit. First of all, Kimmel to me is brilliant, and he laps everybody. I'm sorry, even Colbert. I think Kimmel is just wonderful. Now, I don't know. I just feel a special connection with Kimmel. I think he's sort of he has almost a teenage rebellion in him that I really like, and he's got very funny stuff on Trump, etc. So, but let's put that to the side. When it comes to topical political stuff, I think Kim is sort of right that Colbert feels like it is the real legit skewering of power, which is what you really want from these guys. But Fallon, I think, is underestimated. I think he's really talented, and I think his monologue and the writing on Fallon, even the jokes about Trump, they're good. He just has a youthful energy and quality that may kind of work against him when it comes to sort of political commentary, if you will, or the skewering politically of these people. But I take your point that Colbert just feels, right, a little more right maybe than Fallon does.
Kimmel definitely gets the laughs. I feel like he gets laughs. Colbert, you watch Colbert, you get a lot of cheering from the the crowd.
That's a really great point.
Albert, thank you.
Yes, I think that's exactly right.
I think Fallon is more, I find him to be more contrived. It feels like made up. His whole overblown laughing and throwing himself down on the desk, like, oh, isn't this all so funny? I just don't feel the natural talent that I do from someone like Craig Ferguson or Jimmy Kimmel, where they're just themselves and also supremely funny at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I adore Jimmy Kimmel, so I don't. You just can't. I mean, I know everybody's Colbert. I watch Kimmel, so I don't know what to say. But I do appreciate it. When I watch Colbert, I go, wow, this really is good. I understand why people are into Colbert. Stephen is smart, talented, hardworking, and a good person. Whatever he does next, he will succeed with. Cindy G from New York City says, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And that's kind of what I was saying before. Thank you, Cindy, for the super chat. I think that I think Cindy's right in that that post late night television world that Conan, for example, did so well with, I think Colbert will do very well as also. Yeah. And look, a podcast alone could pay him millions. The podcast universe is just so lucrative for so many of these big name people who have access to big guests and who have a big following. Maggie with a $5 super chat. The Mark Thompson Show, never bending the knee. There you go, baby. Thank you. I love Colbert, says Kim. Kim Roslin. Yeah. I love Colbert. So sad and mad, she says. Yeah. Sue says, my heart will be broken without Colbert. He's the only one I watch. Do you think Colbert will go over to HBO, Karen says. If they pick him up like they did with Bill Maher, I would love to watch him more than Maher. That's really provocative. Now, he can't go over to HBO or anywhere else with the kind of huge organization that he has, as Kim has noted, with 200 employees. He can't do it. There's just, that streaming universe just won't support that kind of legacy media salary and battleship filled with employees. But to your point, he might make a splash over there. And if he wants to continue, hey, that's what Conan did. Conan went to this kind of one-on-one. Do you recall? He still brought Richter. He did kind of what I did from KGO. He brought his sidekick, Richter, and they just did 2 chairs there, and then they'd bring on a guest, and it was like a really skinny version of his late night show, and very successful. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot of times more people will start watching because they just found out I'm sure the ratings tonight or for the rest of the show will be crazy, insane, because people are trying to watch now.
Yeah, completely agree.
Anthony Davis is here, by the way, also.
Yeah, in fact, we haven't even gotten to the Epstein story of the day, and we'll do it with our pal. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
If you watch the Midas Touch Network, you know they are wildly successful, great content, and among the greatest parts of that content, my favorite Britisher, who does join us when when he has a moment. He puts out a lot of great content, so there are not a lot of moments that he's available. But if you would, on your feet for the great Anthony Davis, everyone. God damn it, stand up. I said stand up.
It's too much.
Sorry, Anthony, I just realized that that person isn't able to stand up. I apologize, ma'am. Anthony, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's
or
very
as you
nice
say, program.
Program, yes, spelt Programme.
That's right. Anthony is fantastic, says Andrew Gordon. What a great way to start the segment. Please. Lavishing you with praise. Look at Anthony, yay, with 400 thumbs up. Anthony Davis is my second favorite Britisher after David Bowie, says Trevor Starr. Oh, wow. That's still pretty good company.
What? I might change the lights in here. It's a little bit, there we go. Just darken it down a little bit, make it a bit more intimate, you know.
Yes, I'm really excited to have you here. And I'm wondering if we can't address a little bit of the bombshell news from yesterday. The bombshell news involving the Jeffrey Epstein controversy and crisis that has engulfed the White House. Nothing really cuts through the noise. I mean, here we've had, in my judgment, so many illegalities from the dismantling of government, the access to government databases given to Elon Musk and to people who are completely granted this access without security clearance, without any kind of background check. They run right into all of these computer databases, scrape them for personal information from Americans, et cetera, make all of these changes to government. All of these things, I think, fall into the illegal category. Then you have tariffs that also, I feel, were being, the tariff powers being granted to the chief executive in America right now without regard to a real crisis that would give the chief executive legitimately that power to institute these tariffs. And the immigration policy, which is additionally full of illegalities, people being rounded up off the street. They're not given their due process. So all of these things are happening in the world of America right now, and they happen quite quickly. But the only thing that really has cut through and created a crisis for this president, who was part of all these things I just mentioned, is a sex scandal. Nothing cuts through like a sex scandal.
One that we already knew about. I mean, it's not even a new sex scandal, is it? I mean, this has been going on for years.
True.
I mean, they lived on the same street as each other. I mean, this is the other thing. It's like they were neighbors going around with a cup of sugar when they ran out. I mean, the first thing I want to say about the Jeffrey Epstein thing is that nobody is talking about the fact that Virginia Giuffre, who was one of the girls who was sex trafficked, took her own life back in April. We presume she took her own life. I think she took her own life. She'd moved to Australia. She tried to put it behind her. She became an activist, but it became too much for her. And I was actually reading what her family were writing about her yesterday because, you know, the excitement amount about, you know, is Trump a pedophile? Does he like the girls younger like Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, this letter that's, you know, been talked about this morning is certainly kind of alluding to that with all sorts of double entendres. But I just think about the girls and the victims of these crimes. That's where my head goes first. I'm not interested in salacious stories. I'm not interested in the, you know, the kind of TMZ version of this, which I think so many people seem to be jumping on. I just think about the dozens and dozens of women who are having to live with the historic trauma associated with, you know, escaping Jeffrey Epstein, if indeed they escaped with their lives. And sadly, Virginia Giuffre, even at the age, I think she's 41, when she took her life, she just wasn't able to escape it in the end.
Well, the grooming of extraordinarily young boys and girls into this Jeffrey Epstein world is, I suspect, all over these Epstein files and investigative materials that clearly exist. And there are many, many victims. I mean, they're, even by their own admission, Pam Bondi talks about north of 1,000 victims. So just on the victim level, you're right. It was more than a decade he did this.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine the numbers when it comes to victims. It's a pretty high number.
Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's currently in prison, is seemingly trying to kind of negotiate some kind of deal with the Justice Department, or, you know, buying us silence or goodness knows what, so she can kind of get some kind of early release when she, you know, she's on the far right of this picture, and I mean the far right in all essence of the words. I don't know if you know much about her. She is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who was basically Britain's equivalent to not just Trump, but, you know, any of these big media moguls. Like,
he's like a Murdochian kind of guy.
He was a Murdochian. He disappeared strangely off of his yacht in the middle of the ocean. Again, another one of these, did he die or was he pushed? Or did he even just, maybe he's living in Monaco now? Who only knows? But these families, these dynasties, they are all of the same, they're all cut from the same cloth. These are the people that Donald Trump wants to hang around with. If Robert Maxwell was still alive, he and Ghislaine and Trump and Melania and Jeffrey, they'd be sitting right now having dinner at this gilt-edged table, eating cheeseburgers from McDonald's, because at least you know where it's come from, and celebrating each other's successes. Meanwhile, Virginia Giuffre is committing suicide, and as you say, thousands of young women and boys from decades ago are having to live with what is left of their lives. It's just tragic. It's tragic that the media doesn't know how to cover it. It's tragic that people, you know, the Democrats are like, oh, well, is this a way to get Trump out of office? Of course not. Trump's going to survive this like he survived everything. The way to get Trump out of office is to provide food banks for people, because they're going to need them in 6 months' time when there's no food on the shelves. And, you know, I was actually recording an episode of The Weekend Show just before I came on with you. And I was having the most wonderful conversation with my guest, but we were coming up with ideas about what Democrats could be doing right now. And I was suggesting food banks, branded Democratic food banks. You want to eat? Go and get, and everyone's welcome. You don't have to be a Democrat to take Democratic food from the food bank, but it's free and it's there for you because Trump has basically deported all the food pickers. I mean, we are going to find ourselves, you know, there's always a lag. We're still in Joe Biden's economy, just about tail end of it, right? 6 months. Inflation is starting to come up again. Things are going to get very difficult for people. And this Epstein story for me is just a distraction for the long-term problems of this regime upon the people of America.
There is no question but that that's true, meaning if you look at the things that will ail and do ail America, the Epstein story and the breadth of the Epstein story, even as it engulfs all of these luminaries, it doesn't measure up, as we were saying. The tariffs, chaotic, ridiculous, inflationary, they're going to start to be felt. The ICE policies, now supercharged with all that money that was just approved by the big, beautiful bill thing, that will just create more of this wanton chaos in immigrant communities that are critical to the American economy. So I think you were so right. I mean, that's not to mention the defunding, as you've just sort of suggested, of all of these programs that were critical to those who needed a lift up. So in all of these ways, you're right. There are many bigger, more important stories that will weigh on America besides Epstein. It's interesting, though, that the only thing that really whips everybody's head around is the Epstein story, because I'd suggest in part, for a chief executive who seems bulletproof from any other kind of political, taking on any other kind of political water, this one problem seems to be something that is more than just vexing for him. He's in a panic over it. He's trying to grab Pam Bondi. What can we do? Can we release some of these grand jury testimony papers? What can we? There's a panic we haven't really seen from Donald Trump in his first 7 months.
Well, he's got a lot of things to worry about. I came across on Instagram this morning a video of him talking about the lamps in the boardroom at the White House. and talking about, he spent more time talking about the tassel and how it needed a medallion instead of the chain going into the ceiling, and why you can't get paint that looks like real gold because, maybe someone did try and do it, and maybe they got very rich over it. I don't know, but maybe they did get rich. But if they didn't get rich, then they need to find a paint that is gold, that actually looks like gold. So you have to use real gold like we have in the Oval Office to make it look gold. I swear to you, he was more engaged than I've ever seen him before because he was talking about painting and decorating. That's who this guy is. He is a realtor. He flips properties. That's what this guy does. He can't talk about anything. He knows nothing of trade. He knows nothing of international relations or diplomacy. He knows nothing of tariffs. He doesn't understand the way American culture operates because he's never been in it. He's lived in a bubble. We saw the real Trump in this clip with his insane eyebrows and his comb over when he's jeering and looking at women and pointing with his best buddy of 15 years, Jeffrey Epstein, at which girl they were going to take upstairs next. The most perverted sequence, that video that you have there. And that's who Donald Trump is. He knows being a perv and being a painter and decorator. And we have him in control of the United States and consequently the rest of the world. My prediction is that within 3 to 5 years, there will be a war, and I'm not sure whose side Trump will be on. I know it will be NATO countries versus Russia, but I do not know which side America will be on.
Wow, that's a chilling prediction. I mean, it is worth noting that there's a wag the dog potential that's always out there. I even mentioned to Kim when all of this hit with Epstein, I wonder how long it will be before Trump, desperate to do something to distract, unable to concoct distractions sufficiently, may actually launch some military exercise.
But that's why he bombed Iran.
Right.
He bombed Iran because the media was not kind to him that week. And, I mean, I in last week's weekend show, I had Simon Rosenberg on, the Democratic strategist, and I was saying to him that Trump appears to apply more war paint to his face when things are going badly for him. It's no coincidence. He is more orange when that's how insecure he is. He's like, okay, I'm really going to be super, super tangoed today. And then 2 days later, the bombs dropped on Iran and kind of didn't quite complete the mission. This is who he is. He is impulsive. And it's that impulsive nature and the fact that we aren't able to second guess him. I mean, look, the stock market now has basically given up second guessing Donald Trump. They're basically ignoring anything that he says because he's only going to reverse it 2 days later. It's the same with the Europeans. Europeans have basically given up on Donald Trump as well. They're just like, okay, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to have our own weapons. We're going to do our own armies. We're going to work with Canada. And we're just ignoring the United States. That is why we have to be planning for 2 to 5 years ahead. Start stockpiling Campbell's condensed soup because, it's going to become very problematic. And I don't know if I said this to you or to somebody else, but America is not cut out for an authoritarian takeover of government. Here, everything is just fun. It's In-N-Out burger. And it's picking up donuts on in your lunch hour, things that I don't have in my culture. Donuts? What are you talking about? And I love it. I love it. Donuts are part of the reason why I wanted to live in the US. The informality and the freedom and the joy of you're going to cook? Of course I'm not going to cook. I'm going to pick something up on the way home. I love that. But the United States is not cut out for the more serious aspect of an authoritarian takeover. We look back, Clinton and Monica Lewinsky was like the big scandal. Obviously, Nixon and Watergate was the big scandal. Those things are like a drop in the ocean compared to an authoritarian takeover of government. And when Trump cancels the Late Show, or CBS cancelled the Late Show, they're not just cancelling Stephen Colbert, they're cancelling popular culture. This is no surprise. It's in the pages of Project 2025. Read the document. This is all part of the plan. It's just going to become a homogenized, far-right Christian nationalist nation. Anybody of color is going to be deported. Anybody who is not American-born is going to be deported. this is it is game over. I mean, the story that hit me the most today, sorry for this little rant, but I'm feeling it, is that Trump is destroying $10 million worth of contraception rather than send it abroad to women in need. The State Department just announced this. It's costing U.S. taxpayers around $167,000, in total to even just destroy it.
This is part of the clawback?
Well,
the clawback of the $9 billion?
They'll say it's part of the clawback, but it's part of the Project 2025.
Sure.
It's part of this kind of far-right Christian nationalism. No contraception. Contraception will eventually be banned. They've already talked about doing it with the morning after pill and stuff. It's, gay marriage will be outlawed. I mean, we have to be serious about the things that are in the document. As Kamala Harris said, I can't believe they wrote this stuff down.
I love that you mentioned the Project 2025 so prominently in your little run, because it wasn't just Project 2025 that was pointed to. Those who served in the last Trump administration, to a person, spoke about the authoritarian instincts, how that was the thing that they worried about the most. I mean, person after person, and the letters signed by so many people who worked with him.
Yes.
So now it's happening. It's right on schedule.
There's no one to stop him. And, the checks and balances, well, those two words need to be removed from the American language because they don't mean anything anymore. They're effectively gone. He controls all branches of government. 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices are far-right Christian nationalists who are also, they are, even the black one, they are all pushing for the deportations. They're giving him the support. They're giving him the immunity. They've banned people kind of suing the government. I mean, if you're not taking this seriously, then you're not paying attention. You've got to stop shopping for donuts and focus on this, or start stockpiling donuts, I'm telling you, because this shit is going to get seriously real within the next 6 to 12 months.
You mentioned that you kind of come from the British European experience closer to the kind of deprivation that you had during wartime. And there's a shadow effect of that, right? I mean, in Britain, I think this is what you're saying. There's sort of a culture informed by that being deprived of many of the sort of luxuries of life that were deprived during the war. World War II still is something that hangs over Europe and the British experience. I think
Britain especially. Britain still operates like it's 1946. The war has just ended. They're celebrating the defeat of Hitler, but you still can't get eggs. You still can't get meat, and you're still having to mix milk with powder or create milk with powder. Not completely, but in some ways, that mentality is there. There are daily reminders of the fact that the authoritarian was defeated, and you don't take anything for granted. There's a phrase, make, do, and mend. Do you know that phrase, make, do, and mend?
I don't know that, no.
So rather than go out and buy, another pair of tights, you darn your tights. You sew them up. You make do and you mend, because there isn't money for luxuries like keeping your legs warm. And so I just feel like, yes, that is very much a part of Britain, but also Europe as well. And, that's why when J.D. Vance went to Europe and made that speech, and when Pete Hegseth went to Europe and made that speech talking about embracing fascist parties and how, you need to be more welcoming of the far right and America is not going to be here to defend you in future, they might have just been words to some Americans. But to the Brits and to the Europeans, it was devastating. It was basically condoning the rise of the far right and Hitler and the Third Reich and everything that went with that. And Europeans live in the shadow of war. There's never been a war to, you imagine a bomb dropping on the In-N-Out burger. And people would be like, where am I going to get my In-N-Out burger, my double-double? I just feel like we need to wake up in the US and recognize that it can happen here, contrary to the view that it can't happen here.
Yeah, this is what I've been saying for a long time, that Americans, and this is the problem, and as I saw Trump pick up momentum politically. This is prior to him winning the second presidency. I think Americans are fat and happy. We are so fat and happy that we complain about the Biden economy. I understand that the Biden economy left people out, but the idea somehow that the Biden economy was the thing that drove Trump to power, what are you kidding? It was the best economy in the world.
Well, there is no Trump economy, because the first Trump economy was Obama's economy, and then COVID came.
Right.
So you know.
Well, he also had restraints on him. I feel like he wasn't surrounded by the loyalists he is now. He can just run amok.
There isn't a mechanism in that big, beautiful bill, or that fat, ugly bill, as I prefer to call it, that does anything for working people. It puts up their tax. So if you're earning less than $50,000 a year, your tax is going to go up significantly, up to 27% more. But if you are earning, $1 million plus, you're going to get a massive tax cut. And if you're into the billions, then you're laughing. I mean, these are the tax cuts that Trump wanted to do the first time around and was prevented from doing. Now it's been ratified. He's going to get everything that he wants. This is the saddest part of this story. And I don't want to be accused of being defeatist or negative, but I am a realist, Mark. I'm bringing some European realism to these airwaves by saying that you can't just keep running forever, because we don't have anything to fall back on in this country. I mean, the welfare state in the UK, the national health and the welfare state, i.e., the dole being paid to if you don't have a job, those things were born out of the Second World War, right? They created those things because the war devastated the nation. And so people needed to be paid. They didn't have any money, and they certainly couldn't afford health care. So that's why we have those things. And all these years later, they are still there. They're not perfect, but they are still there. So it's a social safety net. It's a soft place to land. But if war came to America, to the mainland, and don't think there won't be a draft, that's the other thing. There'll definitely be a draft. Trump will see that as a great opportunity to get... It's socialism, by the way, the draft, just so you know, paying people, feeding people, clothing people, but Let's not mention that. This is what it will come to, and anybody under the age of 30 will be asked or invited or requested to come and fight the enemy. I don't know who the enemy is going to be right now. It could be Russia, but it could be Europe. Who knows? But this is what people are talking about who are planning ahead. This is what political scientists are looking at. This is what historians are talking about. And you have to listen to these people, because there is a lot of historical trauma that goes with this. And anybody who's a minority, whether you're a Jew or whether you're black, you feel it. You feel it in your balls. And people who are white and wealthy, they're not connected to this stuff. They don't have that empathy for the fact that we live in this kind of imperfect world. They're paying their way out of it. And Trump's one of those people. That's why he doesn't understand, can't feel anything. He's never had to struggle. And so many Congress people have never had regular jobs. They just don't know what regular people are going through. So, there isn't a social safety net to land on when things go wrong in this country. And it means that people will be destitute and homeless. And then, of course, they get tarred with the brush that, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all of that stuff. I don't know where that comes from, but it's just, it's so offensive. So the future is quite bleak unless we all get engaged. This is all preventable, but everybody has to get engaged. And voting is the fundamental part of that. It's almost like the last thing we have left.
This from Andrew Gordon. Remember, folks, all this stuff makes us feel hopeless and feelings of perpetual dread. But we are stronger together, and we have to fight to the ends of the earth to ensure our children's futures. Fight on, he says, which is kind of what you were just saying toward the end of what you were talking about. I mean, that things are bleak. You found the right show, because I'm not a hopium guy. I'm not to blowing sunshine up everybody's butt. People call me a pessimist. No, I'm a realist. When things are grim, you got to call them grim.
I feel like, the culture here this is a wake-up call for culture, isn't it? And, the morning shows, they're all very positive, even when the news is negative. And I think that everybody needs to get on board. But now that we have Trump controlling the media because of this deal with Paramount and CBS and all that stuff, we're going to get less and less factual information from our media. So we won't be able to trust shows that even seem wishy-washy, like Good Morning America. Like, you forget all that stuff. You cannot wake up with a happy face every day because it's not happy. You know, it isn't happy. It's serious. It's really serious. And I just wish people would get serious. You know, I mean, I would have been of the opinion that, you know, that Stephen Colbert cancels the format of the show before they cancel the show and says, okay, there's an authoritarian takeover of government. We're not doing comedy every night. I'm going to invite on historians and serious people, and we're going to sit and we're going to talk about the threat of authoritarianism. Well, it's not even a threat now. It's our present. Can you imagine that though? Breaking with convention.
Well, I mean, it's a hypothetical, but it's kind of a fun hypothetical. I would say that he does a lot of skewering of Trump and of the authoritarian instincts of Trump in a comic way.
Style.
I mean, in a way, it does serve that purpose you're talking about.
Yeah, but it softens the edges of the dictatorship, Mark. This is the problem. It softens the edges.
Well,
dictatorship is dangerous. And the moment you start being comedic about it, people are like, oh, it's fine, because, you know, there's jokes. But there's nothing funny about it. So cancel the show.
Fair enough. I mean, if you cancel the show yourself, though, I can argue that you're, like in the Timothy Snyder warning, you're pre-surrendering. You know,
you get a bigger audience.
Make them cancel you.
I think you get a bigger audience. I honestly think if that show format went from him standing doing a monologue to seated at a table with somebody else, just talking about the serious stuff, I think more people would watch. I mean, these shows, you know, even now, obviously, these shows don't get the kind of audiences they used to when Johnny Carson was doing them, obviously. Because we're so divided now and everyone's in their information silo. But this is something that connects everybody. The rise of fascism affects everybody, even Republicans who voted for Trump. They're also not going to be able to get food. They're also, I mean, we see
they may
now.
be the first ones not to be able to get food.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So this is, for me, this is the seriousness of it. I've done it on 5 Minute News. I've basically changed the programming. And it has hit the ratings a little bit, but I'm convinced that telling the raw truth is more important than growing the network.
Sure. I mean, I think that it's a provocative notion. I sadly feel as though Americans are drawn to the things that entertain them. I mean, if it were really true that if you just sat down and talked about the rising fascism and authoritarian instincts that are being played out across the streets of America and in government, you'd have huge audiences for all of our YouTube shows. There are some that have huge audiences. I mean, you have a really great audience over on Midas Touch. We have a growing audience here. But I would say that there's still within America a sense that this couldn't happen here. Like there's a normalcy bias.
Yeah.
And
it's denial. And it's the fact that all we've really seen in the U.S. in our lifetimes is Pearl Harbor and 9/11. And that's it. But, you know, these events kind of come and go. And I don't know if I said this to you before, but I never understood how the U.S. was able to make movies about buildings exploding after 9/11. I thought that would be the end of it because it became real. And so all these kind of disaster films, it's game over. We can't do that anymore. This is now our reality.
How in the U.S. can you do movies where everybody's got a gun and shooting each other when people on the streets of America are shooting each other with massacres and all the rest? I mean, you explain that disconnect to me. It's amazing, you know.
Art imitates life and vice versa. So, you know, it's important that you and I, as independent journalists, speak in these kind of raw truths. It's not to scare people. It's not fear-mongering. It's just a reality. Trump is he's so scattergun. He's so untrustworthy. He's so emotionally sensitive. And this week, he's finally realized, thanks to Melania, supposedly, that maybe Vladimir Putin is not such a nice guy after all. It's like murdering Alexei Navalny didn't seem to bother him, or getting rid of the director of transport last week in a kind of schmelting accident. I mean, the reality is that, the human rights atrocities of these dictators, Trump doesn't even bother with. He doesn't care about. But, Melania says that maybe he's been playing me for the last few months. And he's like, hang on a second, maybe... And that's the sad part of this, is that we all know that Trump's been played. It's so obvious. All the commentary is covering that. And Trump's like the last person to know.
Well, he's in the biggest echo chamber there is. And Fox News Channel, which is the exclusive information source for him, they are that echo chamber. Fox News Channel is on in every government building. Any place that there's a television, it has to be tuned to Fox News Channel. It's a remarkable thing.
And in all the military bases as well, which means that, unfortunately, we are breeding armies of far-right nationalists.
Yeah, the propaganda machine is everywhere. Franny says Anthony Davis is 100% correct. That is the top percentage, 100%. His 5-minute news videos are a must-see for everybody. We are all on the Titanic, people. Wow. Merry Christmas, Franny. But look, all kidding aside, these are dire circumstances, I think, that we find our nation in. And I can't believe how completely without any regulatory restraint this president has been allowed to act on his impulses. And the Project 2025 authors, Russell Vogt, who runs OMB now, a critical, central, almost a nucleus of government funding in Washington, one of the primary authors of Project 2025, is able to, one chapter after another, institute these programs like the clawing back of the $9 billion. Yeah. The clawing back of the $9 billion, again, it had a tepid pushback from Murkowski and Collins. But apart from that, this $9 billion is nothing. I mean, it's pocket change. And
but it's not about the money, though, is it? It's about shutting down NPR and PBS.
It's cultural.
It's about getting rid of any pushback. And that is what authoritarianism is. It is silencing any dissenting voice. And, my fear is that it will eventually happen with YouTube as well.
Oh, my God, yes.
And so that we're going to have to put our shows behind a paywall, where if you want to see it, you have, it can't be public. And I don't want to do that, but that's kind of where it's heading, because free speech is over. And it's interesting that they ran on this kind of free speech mantra, but it's not free speech at all, is it? It's free speech when you agree with them. And the saddest part of this story is that, none of these policies are going to benefit any Republicans, working Republicans in the long run at all. It's like turkeys voting for Thanksgiving. And that, I don't know when that will dawn on them. It's like they're watching it on TV like it's a game show. And every night they watch it and they love it and they think it's great. Oh, yeah, this whole America experiment, this is a great game show. And then one day they turn and look out the window and boom, there's a huge mushroom cloud that comes towards them and they die. The mushroom cloud is not as far away as we thought. I mean, what is it, those scientists who do the doomsday clock or something?
Right.
It's never been as close to midnight as it is right now.
Well, you mentioned scientists, the denial associated with science, with getting rid of all science, government science. The greatest threat, apart from that which you've just described, which is sort of a huge war, conflict like that we're sleepwalking into the end of humanity. I mean, into our own extinction, and we're hastening it with the fossil fuel production, but just the pollutants alone, leave aside the climate change, just the tonnage of pollutants into the air, water, soil.
I know.
That's all being
and everyone
erased
drinks that water
from all government websites.
Right. But the wealthy drink Evian and bottled water. They don't drink water from the tap, which regular people can only afford to do. And so I believe, and it sounds like a conspiracy, but it isn't, that there is a plan to eradicate the poor. To just eradicate them, whether it be whether it be through COVID, as it was, where he just didn't seem to care, because, he knows that statistically the poor are the people who die first. And this is their plan. And it's all in the pages of the project. So, It's not like we're making this up. It's dark. It's so dark. And, there's the religious aspect to it, the Opus Dei stuff as well. I mean, it's complex. It does require a lot of reading and a lot of critical thought. But on the surface of it, I believe that there are more of us than there are of them. And I'm not talking about Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about good people and bad people. It's as simple as that. You can pick whichever side you want, and everybody is welcome. But they are so bad and cruel and evil. And to snatch people off the streets and to deport them to countries that they've never known is pure cruelty. These people haven't even broken the law. Notice how they shifted that. Originally, it was like, we're going to take everybody who's a criminal off the streets. Right? That was originally the plan. All the immigrants who were criminals were going to go. Then that disappeared somehow. Like, criminal wasn't really the issue anymore. It was just anybody who crossed the border. And then we heard Tom Homan go, well, if they're in this country undocumented, then that is illegal. So they broke the law. So suddenly they become criminalized without a court hearing. That is how fast things change. And that took 2 weeks.
And they are going to the courts where there is actually a legitimate asylum plea being played out and adjudicated.
Yeah.
And they're picking them up before they can actually make that asylum plea. It's a remarkable
they're
thing.
They're even doing it at naturalization ceremonies as well. Where people are getting their American citizenship, having filed all the paperwork and lived in the country legally and done it all the right way. People are about to swear allegiance to the United States of America. Whoop, handcuffs, back of a van, unmarked vehicle, off to somewhere else.
Yeah, off to Sudan or something. It's a remarkable thing, too, where they're transporting these people. I mean, it's pretty grotesque,
But this is why people don't protest en masse, because there's no social safety net. This is when we look to Europe and we see these mass protests in France or in Britain, it's because there's a social safety net. If you don't go to work, you're not going to be on the streets. But here we don't have that. So people cannot protest in the numbers. And also the way criminal damage has been criminalized is so great here that if you smash a window, then you'll do prison for 10 years. Whereas in Europe, they'll just give you a small fine. This is the reason why America is not cut out for an authoritarian dictatorship, because there are systems in place to prevent an uprising of the people.
Well, we're out of time, but just on that last point, I think the presence of troops in Los Angeles and whatever the excuse was, and it was just an excuse, a concocted excuse to pull the trigger on those troops and that presence, that sets you up for what you're talking about, which is beating back any sort of legitimate protest on the part of the people. It's intimidating to go up against the U.S. Marines.
Yeah. Well, Trump gave them full authorization last week, didn't he? That's what he said, that these agents have full authorization to defend themselves in their ability to do their jobs. And that means arresting people who get in the way of a deportation. This is as close to the Nazi Germany as America has ever been, and ever, and this is it. I mean, it's not like we need to be like, watch out, there could be an authoritarian takeover. We are marinating in it right now.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be real about that.
The brown shirts, the SS, it's all there. The Stasi. It is what we're seeing with these unmarked, masked people plucking people in whatever venue they find themselves. It could be a high school graduation or a Home Depot, and then you don't see them anymore. I mean, this is the disappearing of people the way Pinochet did in Chile.
Right.
We're out of time. I want to ask you to please remind people of all your great work on Midas Touch Network. I love 5 Minute News, but you do way more than that.
5 Minute News every day, new videos, explainer videos, talking about the way the world is. Wednesdays, Uncovered with Ron Filipkowski on the Midas Touch Network. Sundays, the Weekend Show, a kind of long-form interview with one of the greatest thinkers I can find of the time. And you can find me on Substack as well, the Anthony Davis, and I'm posting a lot more there as well. So plenty of places to connect and meet up and get in touch, and I just love to hear from people. It's so motivating to know that we are a community of like-minded people who love the US. Like, we love this country. I love the United States. I want it to prosper, and this is why we critique. It's not criticism, it's critique for the right reasons, and we can find common ground on many of these subjects.
Hear, hear. Good stuff. Anthony, thank you so much. Always giving us a little time, and I know it's hard to get. You're so committed to so many different things. It's great to have you stop through, and you continue to be my favorite Britisher. So, all the best, my friend. Let's talk soon.
Thank you.
Anthony Davis, everybody. Right on.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Who's Mark Thompson?
The Mark Thompson Show.
Love talking to him. Love talking to him. Anthony Davis, great mind and a real treat to speak to him on a Friday. Now, Albert, we have an organizational crisis. That's right.
No.
I have an organization.
What?
I know. It's not possible.
It was worth it, though. I mean, the things that Anthony Davis says are so important that you have to. You have to.
Well, we blew through what Kim is hinting at, the normal time we would do Friday Fabulous Florida.
Yeah.
But my thinking is that we talk to Jim Avila, and then after Avila and before Snyder, we do Friday Fabulous Florida. Are you okay with that?
What?
I know. You're okay with that, Albert?
I'm okay with that, and we have just one great story just for. We'll keep it quick. So
how terrific! All right. Well, I am going to just quickly have a little. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is where you get the coffee of champions. It is an all organic, all women-owned farms where they source these beans, teas, spices, the magic that is there.
Got my vanilla tea.
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Yes. Kim loves the tea.
So good.
She's rocking the Moroccan. And I love the new
what
is it called again, Kim?
It's the mushroom coffee. It's the lion's mane.
Lion's.
It's lion's mane, but it's called. Is it critical thinking coffee? What's it called?
What is it called? A clarity or something?
Clarity. There you go.
Albert,
clarity blend.
The clarity blend, exactly, and it's absolute clarity.
Clears your mind and makes you think. It improves your cognitive functions.
It's so good, man.
So you don't get sucked into MAGA land.
There it is, clarity. The clarity blend. You can try it the way I have tried it, and I'm now hooked. So again, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. They have merch, they have teas, they have spices, and they have great coffees. Once again, there are tasting notes on everything, so you can see what you're getting. Once you put everything that you want in a perfect world in your checkout cart, slam that Mark T discount code. That's right. Crush it, baby. Put Mark T in, 10% off everything.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Do it with the same iron rod that you give us a thumbs up. Put Mark T in there, 10% off, and everything is delicious that comes out of Coachella Valley Coffee. Oh, the half calf. That seems like something I may want to get into.
Yeah, I've ordered that before, and it's really good. I was trying to cut my husband's caffeine down a little bit. He says it tastes great.
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, let's not delay any further, although we do love delaying on this show. But this guy is he's a Murrow Award winner, Peabody Award-winning journalist. He was the White House correspondent, lead White House correspondent with Obama for, close to a decade. He is an Emmy winner, a remarkable luxury to be able to talk to this guy and get some perspectives every Friday. How about it for the great Jim Avila? Jim, thank you.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, we are good, and we're anxious to get with you about the latest scandal to engulf the White House because, as I was saying in the first hour, it seems that a lot of the scandalous policies, chaotic tariff policy, a bizarre and also equally chaotic ICE and immigration policy. These things and the shoving through of that legislation, the clawback of the $9 billion, the the cultural sea change that has been at the kind of cornerstone of this administration. I'm talking about going after DEI and universities and law firms. And I mean, as the water rises, you'd think there'd be more panic and something would cut through. But as usual, it's a sex scandal that really has turned the White House on its side and has created the panic in Donald Trump now.
Well, you can certainly see the panic in his posts and the way he's been trying to deal with this. He's all over the place on it. First, he wanted it to go away, and then he did this bogus announcement yesterday where he's calling for the grand jury testimony to be released. Having covered courts for many, many years, I can tell you that they don't release grand jury testimony. The whole idea is that it's secret. So he called for something he knew he couldn't have, and that would not damage him in any way. What his supporters want is more than that. And so I don't know that it's going to do the trick. Because what his supporters want is they want the files. They want to see what's in the investigative files. And that's where, if there are names, that there's a laundry list of clients, that's where it'll be found, not in the grand jury testimony. So I see what he's doing. It's a delay tactic, which is what he does most of the time, is delay. But I don't know that it's going to work.
This is interesting that now you see a lot of MAGA land and MAGA influencers who are trying to figure out where they should be to support the president, but also to honor their calls for transparency. And Bannon is now backing Trump after this Wall Street Journal report, because the Wall Street Journal report, which has the birthday card that Trump had authored allegedly, and this is all in materials from Ghislaine Maxwell. Bannon is one of these high-profile supporters of Trump who now feels Trump is under attack and he wants to back Trump. And I mentioned Laura Loomer also in that context because she's also seeing this embattled president. So it's interesting to see them shift from the demand for transparency to closing ranks behind the president, who they see as taking on water.
Yeah, and I think the solution for that Trump is going to reach for is his Attorney General, Bondi, is going to be jettisoned at some point here as the sacrificial lamb, and the one who's going to take the whole heat for bringing it back. And he'll announce some kind of release of something, and then get rid of her. Would be my guess. Is that he doesn't take a fall himself, but he's setting them up, and his minions like Bannon and Laura Loomer, who will back him and will go for her scalp, and they're already kind of going for it.
Yeah, the blame game is something that he's very good at. It's interesting to watch him try to skate away from this, and he enlists. They don't need to be formally enlisted. They close ranks, as I say. J.D. Vance, Albert, do you have the X post or whatever? I'll just read it. Forgive my language. This is J.D. Vance post. Forgive my language, but this story, talking about the WSJ story, the Wall Street Journal story, is complete and utter bullshit. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Donald Trump? To me, it sounds exactly like Donald Trump. Albert, as Kim was pointing out before the show started, grab him by the pee and I hang out in the beauty pageant dressing room with 14-year-old girls. That's exactly who Trump was and is.
Yeah, that's exactly who he is. Vance asked, he asked a question, does this sound like Donald Trump? That's exactly the Donald Trump that we know from the very beginning.
Yeah, go ahead,
Absolutely.
Albert. Remind us of Trump's own words. You have it?
She's your girl's hottest in the purple.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know it. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the. I can do anything.
I mean, this was the world of Epstein for so long. And Jim, just on this Epstein thing, some of the most powerful people on earth, I get that there was maybe business to be done on those private jets and these different places, from Epstein Island to his place in New York to his residence. I think he had a place in the Southwest somewhere, Arizona, and also in London. But they seem like the defining characteristic, based on the birthday card particularly, the defining characteristic of Jeffrey Epstein was this sex, and I'd suggest a lot of underage women involved in, we know with Epstein, I'm not talking about, but I'm just saying in general, surrounded by a lot of these underage women. I mean, seems to be a defining aspect of the world of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, and my dad had two sayings. Number one, nothing good happens after midnight. And number two was, you're judged by not only your friends, but also your enemies. And, all these folks, Clinton, Clinton had a big problem with women, and it ruined his presidency. And so he'll continue to pay the price, and he may pay the price on this Jeffrey Epstein thing too. We don't know if he's involved or not.
We know that he went to Epstein Island, and he's that's
he's on the manifest several times.
Yeah, indisputable.
And so was Trump. But and so was the Prince of England, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Prince Andrew and Dershowitz and Ehud Barak and a bunch of Wall Streeters and the guy who was Victoria's Secret, is it Wexler, or So a lot of Wall Streeters.
If you're gonna have a little conference about buying whatever stocks he's recommending, Jeffrey Epstein, you don't have to do it on a private island. You go to a private island because there are no rules, and that's that's what he did, and he lured rich, powerful men to go in and join him, and now now we're still, what Jake Tapper's been saying on his show, that he wants to see the whole thing as well, but for journalistic reasons, and I kind of agree with that. I think the public needs to know who was there, who was involved, and not any conspiracy way, but let's do it in a real investigation way. Why isn't it should be Congress? They might have the votes there with the Democrats and the crazy right wingers to get together on this. Then that might reveal some things that the public has a right to know.
The idea of a special prosecutor, which I laughed at when I first heard about it, and I think I continue to laugh because it is laughable. There's no way that Donald Trump wants a legitimate investigation into this issue. It's sort of what Jim Avila is saying, which is, I want to say something to buy myself time, so I'm going to ask for the grand jury release, any pertinent materials, knowing that there'll be no grand jury release for the reasons that Jim Avila has articulated. It's a closed door thing. Trump will not recommend a special prosecutor in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. This coming from the White House. The president, this is a quote, would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. The quote from Caroline Levitt. Levitt's response following confirming the idea floated by someone in the media in the back and forth. But you think that it's possible that the House could make something happen in the way of an investigation and force a release of information? I mean, you kind of saw Mike Johnson, Jim, didn't you? Mike Johnson kind of wavered on that. Yeah.
He has not been as strong behind Trump on this as he normally is, and has been open apparently to listening to having some kind of hearing or having some release here. He's calling for the release. Is it the biggest? we get stuck in this, Mark, and I do too. But this is another distraction. What really is going on, what your previous guest Anthony Davis had to talk about, the Nazification of our government, the fascism taking over, is really the most important thing, and much more important than even the victims, unfortunately, who the underage victims in this case. The future of our democracy is at hand, and it's not even the future, as your guy Davis was saying. It's now, and I am shocked at how quickly it's happened, and how quickly he's taken control, and how quickly he has bullied the courts, even the Supreme Court. He's bullied them. He's bullied Congress to do things that they never wanted to do, which was give up some of their own power. One of the things you never do in Washington is give up any of your power, and they gave up the power on this clawback of the money for PBS and for NPR. He's pushing them over with there's no defense anymore. Who's left?
Exactly.
And he's going after the media. He's going after the media, so it's difficult for the media to say anything. I mean, how long are you going to last?
Right.
We don't know.
No, you're right. This show and shows like it also may succumb to it. I will say that here's how these two things come together, because I think appropriately can label the Epstein thing as absolutely unimportant relative to the other stuff that's going on, without disrespecting the victims of this horror that went on for way too long. And
it's only important because of
those victims. But
child victims. Right.
But here, I would just float this to you. If this thing, which, as I say, it cuts through because sex scandals do, and this is particularly loathsome because it involves children. I mean, it's just grotesque and immoral and horrifying. And if the linkage to Trump is such that it undercuts his power politically, if he starts to take on political water, that's where these two things come together. Now, the problem, and you've just alluded to it, is even if Trump hypothetically were to take on political water and all the charisma and all the accusations and all the anger wasn't able to unload that political water, there's still so much momentum between what he's done and who he's appointed and the Project 2025 authors like Russell Vogt, that this machine may just function on its own. The Nazification, the authoritarianism that has already taken a hold in America may just function even without Trump having to be the Teflon Don that he's been up to this point.
Well, I just hope that it backfires. I've that's been my hope. That I don't want to give up all optimism, but I think that the American public will resist a dictatorship, and at the polls they will resist, and we'll see what happens in the midterms. But even after the midterms, in the next election, is J.D. Vance really going to be able to carry on what Trump has done? I don't know. I mean, I would look for the next, not this year, but after the next 2 years, I'd start looking for Donald Sr. to be pushing Donald Jr. as his successor.
Wow, that's the authoritarian playbook. That's the dictator's playbook, right?
Yeah.
Cousin Erie says the question is, who will Vance pick to be his VP? I don't know. That's skipping way ahead in the movie. I don't know that we're going to even get there. This is interesting. Let me just click you back. There is a lot of this. Barry says in a super chat, why didn't Merrick Garland look into the Epstein-Trump matter? Well, Merrick Garland didn't really do much. He was asleep at the switch. You had a violent coup attempt, and Merrick Garland didn't even go after the true perpetrator of that with any kind of real zeal. I think he slept on the documents case that he had against Trump, which was clearly the one that you could have really done something, I think, quite convincing and quite final with. But anyway, to Jim Avila, why didn't Merrick Garland look into the Epstein-Trump matter? Let me just say this before you remark on this. The suicide or the suicided part of the Epstein end happened on Trump's watch. The arrest and the incarceration while he awaited trial of Epstein happened on Trump's watch. So it was Bill Barr who was the attorney general, not Merrick Garland. So Barry, all I would say is, I think they're popular. There are high-profile people on both sides, Democrats, Republicans, and leaders all around the world who are involved with Epstein. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that it was hands off of this Epstein case. But let's not confuse things. It started under Trump, and he covered the suicide. He covered the Epstein situation during his presidency. The timeline covered that. So now, Jim, speak to Barry. Why did Merrick Garland look into the Epstein-Trump matter?
It wasn't in his jurisdiction at the time. He wasn't. He wasn't in charge when and don't forget, Epstein was prosecuted or was waiting prosecution when he either was killed or committed suicide. So it wasn't like the Justice Department wasn't not doing anything. They were. It wasn't Garland at the time, but there were moves against him. He got in trouble in Florida where he got a small hand slap. And then, this case here, which his compatriot is now facing, those are bigger cases, and I think some information could come out of those. But there was I don't know where you're asking about the room to prosecute. I mean, he was charged.
Yeah,
he was awaiting trial.
Right. He was charged and awaiting trial. I think the bigger question is, why wasn't there a more thorough investigation into his prison suicide? I think the answer to that is associated with a cover-up. And that's why I say it happened under Trump's watch. The cover-up was complete. One guard was away. Why was the roommate, or the cellmate taken out of the cell? I mean, a whole lot of stuff happened. And then there's a 3-minute gap on the surveillance tape. I don't buy the suicide story at all. But
no.
All of these things, I think, relate to the way in which the stink of Epstein was on Trump and also on high-profile Democrats as well, high-profile Wall Street figures, et cetera. Depressed Canadian says the midterms are assumed to be free and fair, Jim, but the GOP is not yet behaving like it's even scared of the midterms. You have any anxieties about the way in which the midterms will be conducted?
Sure. I mean, how can you not? He's demonstrated that he's doesn't respect the system and that he will manipulate it as much as he can. And I think that's why there needs to be an overwhelming resistance to where he can't just brush it under the rug, because so he's gonna fix Texas, right? He's trying to get Texas to have more congressional districts. Gavin Newsom says he'll do the same here in California, just to even it out. But there are ways that, that as president, he can call for fair elections and claim that it's not being handled fairly, and then go into some place like Georgia or Florida and change things around. And the Supreme Court has told him that as long as he's doing it as an active president, and that's what he's going to say, he says, I'm doing this to protect the elections. I'm doing this as the president, protecting our democracy. He can do anything he wants. Supreme Court's not going to be able to stop him because they've already given him carte blanche.
I want to ask you,
am I worried? Hell yeah, I'm worried.
Yeah. In our last minute or two, I want to ask you about immigration, because the immigration story continues to take on more and more desperate aspects. Immigration authorities demanding landlords turn over tenant information. Some legal experts and property managers say the demands they reviewed pose serious legal questions because they're not signed by a judge and may violate a housing discrimination law. But nonetheless, immigration authorities are demanding that landlords turn over leases, rental applications, forwarding addresses, identification cards, and other information on their tenants. This is the Trump administration targeting to assist in mass deportation many who are living in this country legally in every other way, but that they are undocumented. This is just one of the things that's being talked about, Jim. As you know, they just got the green light, ICE did, to possibly deport migrants to third countries without assurances that they won't be tortured. This is according to a memo instructing ICE employees on how to deport people. So you see this taking on even darker tones. I wonder if you could comment.
Well, this third country thing is just absurd. So you're going to send people to a prison somewhere in Somalia or Sudan or someplace like that, and that virtually has no rule of law as it is, and they're going to house our prisoners. You know, I don't understand what the purpose of it is. He's building these places all over the place. There's one in California. There's one in Florida, where they can hold these folks. And not only that he's eliminating the judges. So he's mad at them because the undocumented are not getting through asylum quick enough. Well, that's not their fault. The asylum process takes way too long. And when you cut judges, which is what he's been doing, then you have even a worse problem. So what he's done, along with what he's done there's the same thing he's done with everything else. He's attacking the institutions, and the institutions of a fair immigration process is being eliminated as well. We just don't have. There has to be something comprehensive. I keep saying this every time, and it's not going to happen. We're going to focus on the border. We're going to focus on getting people out of here who serve us and who make it so we can eat cheaply and do all the other things that we use that nobody else is going to do. And we're going to get rid of those folks. And there's been some pushback on him from farmers, which he listened to for a little bit, but then the right wing went crazy again, and he's pulled back on that. So, he's really gotten himself into a tough place because, when I was covering immigration on a daily basis, one of the biggest proponents of some kind of immigration system that allowed workers was the Chamber of Commerce. The United States Chamber of Commerce. These are Republicans, who need people to work for them, their businesses need these folks, and they were always for some kind of fair system that would allow people to come in and work for a certain amount of time, open up the number of people who are allowed to do that, a pathway to citizenship if you keep your nose clean. Those type of things need to be incorporated in order for us to have a system.
Sure. And
that works.
Yeah. And it's interesting, just on this, just to round this off, there is pushback. Trina Real Muto, she's the executive director of the National Immigration Litigation Alliance. She's involved in a federal lawsuit challenging the deportations of migrants to countries other than their own. She says, quote, this policy blatantly disregards the requirements required by statute, regulation, and the Constitution. She says that this ICE memo means that there'll be, quote, no process whatsoever when the government claims to have credible diplomatic assurances for immigrants who are to be deported to third countries. Those assurances, quote, are unlawful because they don't protect deportees from persecution or torture at the hands of non-state actors, and because they violate legal requirements establishing that they be individualized and that migrants have the chance to review and rebut them. She also criticized the government for not publicly sharing what countries it has obtained diplomatic assurances from and what those countries got in exchange. The rest of the policy says is, quote, woefully deficient. Quote, it provides a mere between 6 and 24 hours notice before deportation to a third country, which is simply not enough time for any person to assess whether they would be persecuted or tortured in that third country, especially if they don't know anything about the country or don't have a lawyer. You see the there is pushback on this. That's the legal pushback. But as you suggested, Jim, there may just be a reality pushback because deporting all of these people who are critical to the American economy, that just may not be tolerated, even by his own constituents and his supporters on the GOP side.
Yeah, they've got to rein some of that in. I mean, yes, he won because he promised to deport criminals, but that's not what he's doing, and they ran out of criminals, and so they're going after the people who are here. Some of them are here legally, waiting asylum hearings. Some of them have had their cases disposed of. So, they just don't respect the law, and it's going to. I can't say this as firmly as I used to, but I think it will bite back at them. We'll see.
Yeah, you have. Somebody asked if you're reconsidering your 30 to 35%.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Yes, somebody asking if you've recalibrated on that 30 to 35% idiots.
Oh, I think after the last election, I certainly recalibrated.
There it is. Trevor says, can we get an update on Jim's 30 to 35% estimate? Yeah,
49. It's more like 49.5%, wasn't it? What he got?
Yeah, the election tells you the percentage. Hey, Jim, feel better soon. Keep getting better, buddy. We love you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Jim Avil, everybody. Right on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Give it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
What up, everybody? What a wild show. We've had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of special people to talk to. Albert, are we still on track, sir, to do some Florida? We like to do it. We have made some adjustments this week because of the limited time. I turn to my rock, my light in the night, Albert. I mean, he's kind of a dim light in the night, but he's a light.
Albert, thank you.
He is nonetheless.
He's a guidepost. He leads the way.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that it's a brilliant, big candle power or whatever that is light, but he is our guy, and I feel he's made an adjustment here on Florida. Now, Albert, what is the plan, please?
We'll just do our one-off. What I think is the best Florida story this week, and then we'll get to the Culture Blaster. So we're not ending too late today.
I love it. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
A Florida man accused of having meth and taking a Key West conch tour train for birthday joyride on 4th of July. I mean, oh my God.
A
Florida man celebrating his birthday on the 4th. Sorry. A Florida man celebrating his birthday and the 4th of July in jail after cops say he stole a sightseeing train.
What?
I know. It's true. Jonathan Winslow, 57. Gosh, you never age out of stealing sightseeing trains, apparently. He was close to 60 years old, and he is accused of driving off on a conch tour train after he asked an employee for a tour. There is Jonathan Winslow charged, and we usually have his, there's an evaluation as to what do you think? How would you rate his booking photo?
He's got some hair issues. It looks like he's been pulling it up there, but I'm going to give him I agree. I'll go for a 7. He's a fairly good looking fellow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think Kim's got a thing for Jonathan Winslow, Albert.
I mean, other than the whole meth hair,
Girl, you just woo.
Gordon says a 4. Tammy says a 7.
Yeah.
IPX Studio says 5. John Watson gives him an 8.
Wow.
But officials say that Winslow left his car at the back of the depot and approached an employee who worked at the Conch Tour Train Company. Winslow asked for a tour of the trolley, and told the employee that he used to work for the company years ago.
That's why he knows how to drive the train.
Yeah, he deceived the employee, and then he got on the trolley, parked inside a building. That's where the trolley was. And he drove off with it. Employees tracked down the trolley, told officers that Winslow had picked up 2 random passengers downtown while he was driving the trolley. He was giving his own tour.
Come on aboard, you know.
Yeah, I'm one trolley away from giving my own tour.
I wonder how fast that thing goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it's a speed demon type offering.
No.
Yeah. His car was still running and rock music was playing on the radio, as noted from the arrest report, when police found it behind the Conch Tour train depot. When questioned by law enforcement, here's the meth part of the story, Winslow spoke rapidly and appeared excited, according to authorities. Police say they found a small glass smoking pipe that contained meth. Yeah. It was in his swimming trunks, which is where you keep a small glass smoking pipe that contains meth.
My bad. I'm sorry.
They didn't discover it until he was taken to jail. But the reason that this place is fun. There was no damage done to the trolley, and Jonathan Winslow is in custody. If you're not watching, let me just tell you that this conch train that we're talking about is like, imagine the Disneyland train with all of those, you know, open air kind of cute, like fun rides. Wouldn't you call, is that, I don't know, I'm trying to describe it to people who are just listening.
Yeah, it's kind of more like a kiddie carnival train, but
thank you. That's it. Yeah.
But you know, if you're going to go to jail for vehicle theft, this is, I mean,
you're right. This is a solid choice to of thievery.
Yeah, it looks a lot of fun, but it also looks like you could run it down yourself. Like, I think authorities and people didn't even need to drive to try to stop this trolley car. You just need to run on board and stop
run alongside it, pull over.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Anyway, all's well that ends. Oh, conch is pronounced conch.
Conch, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why do I need Murphy Rowan to correct me? Did you know that, Kim?
I did know that.
You did or you did not?
I did know that.
You did, but you didn't want to correct me?
No. Mm-mm.
Why is that? Because you correct everything.
Because I think it's pronounced both ways, and you know.
Oh, it's pronounced both ways. Thank you.
I think he's technically correct.
Well, now everybody's jumping on the correction.
I had no idea. I read it and I sent it as conch.
Well, thank you. I did.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
No, I don't. I stand corrected. I didn't know that it was.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's Friday, Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday, Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
I have the Culture Blaster. I've got to get him settled. In the meantime, smash the like button and Culture Blaster next on the Mark Thompson Show. I know. Friday, we're excited.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
With your iron rod.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
I'm not gonna
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I love it when you're angry.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Seriously, what the?
This is no summer camp.
It was great. I loved it.
Right on. Right on. Shout out to our Patreon and PayPal supporters who make this show happen. As noted, the loss of Colbert, the likely loss of The Daily Show, loss of a lot of independent media. It will be followed by the loss of other dissenting voices. We always worry about our ability to keep things going, and even the reality of being suppressed in the algorithms of YouTube. So I thank you, and a big shout out to our Patreon and PayPal supporters. If you want to join that crew, you can go to our website, themarkthompsonshow.com, and there are click-throughs to Patreon or PayPal, but you don't even have to go to the website. There are click-throughs to Patreon and PayPal under all of the videos. Albert, diligently, under all videos, you put that link to our Patreon and PayPal pages, don't you, Albert?
Everyone. It's it's a hard and tedious process.
Albert, thank you.
Where I just have to copy and paste it from
from
previous videos. But they are in all videos, and you could find it in every single one of our videos. So
yeah,
we have processes and protocols and standards.
We do.
Not hard to find.
Yeah. Michael Snyder, you need it louder? Okay. You want it louder still, sir? You might have to leave the studio to go get Snyder. It puts me in a bad mood. And I don't understand why you can't just come into the studio without being this diva that you are, where I have to go out and get you in the common area, and then you come in with your coffee and your laptop and all this stuff. It's not, I shouldn't have to do that, Michael. I wonder if you'd like to say anything in your defense before we start.
I would have been here sooner, but I was hunting around for the Coachella Valley coffee in the green room that I was promised, and I could not find the cold brew.
He is a wondrous student of all media, music, movies, television, streaming. Let me tell you, the guy has been writing for major publications for years. He himself a writer of screenplays. We have him on Fridays with a review of what's going on in the streaming and television and film world. He comes and goes on a rainbow. The great culture blaster, Michael Snyder, everyone.
How humbling to follow the trivialities of Friday, fabulous Florida. all kidding aside, it's an honor to be on the same program as the likes of the esteemed Jim Avila and the eloquent Anthony Davis. You know, Mark, as a Warriors devotee, I wasn't a big fan of Anthony Davis when he was on the Lakers. But ever since he was traded, I cannot get enough of him.
That is a reference to the great basketball player who now finds himself.
He's on the Pelicans, is he not?
On the where is that? Where he is, Commish?
I think he's in New Orleans.
He was in that infamous Luka Doncic trade. He's in Dallas.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well, that confused the hell out of me. But it's been a rough couple of days. What do you expect, especially with the news of CBS Paramount's cancellation of Colbert? Come next May, it will be the truly late show, R.I.P. You know, they don't want any dissenting voices out there. You're so right that Project 2025 has got the country in a death grip. But I know that means nothing to you, really, because you're excited about your merchandise. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the best thing about it is that I can now tell someone who annoys me to put a Mark Thompson Show sock in it.
Oh, that's it. Mean, the socks are...
Show us the socks, Mark.
I'll show you the socks, and I will just say that, you know, I'm going to get you... if I knew you'd wear them, I'd get you a pair of them. I mean, you're kind of in the Kim... category. Look, Kim is, you know, she can't say enough disparaging, questionable things, but you're more supportive. But the socks are pretty terrific.
They look good. They look good. For those of you who are on the YouTube feed, you can see that they are a high quality product. But I'm all about my Mark Thompson Show mug. That's all I've ever needed. And as long as it has Coachella Valley coffee in it, I'm a happy camper. Anyhow, Mark,
Kim wants to say something.
Go ahead.
Not
go
that
ahead,
disparaging. I did say that I like the cardigan. I like the zip up featured here.
Yeah, she wasn't disparaging about everything.
I'm just not a fan of the socks. That's all
She's
I'm
not
saying.
A sock
Considering the
person.
state of America,
my ass.
Yeah,
considering the state of America, this is
socks.
It's like happy talk idiocy. Let's get on to what really matters.
The only reason I'm here is because you are a friend.
All right,
it is
go ahead.
So great to be back in Los Angeles, especially since this weekend has a couple events I'm looking forward to attending. Before we get to the movies, one of these is the latest multi-artist opening at Corey Helford Gallery on Anderson Street in the Warehouse District this Saturday night from 7 to 11.
Wow.
I love the gallery. It frequently showcases pop surrealism. And as a pop culture fiend, I've been thrilled at their themed group show tributes to everything from Hello Kitty and the Mattel Toy Company to the influential comic book artist.
No,
Jack
that's kind of an
Kirby.
interesting idea. The Mattel. Did I see that? Yeah, I did.
They
I
had
saw it. Yeah.
a massive anniversary party. It was great.
Yeah.
The really big deal, though, is Sunday, the 20th anniversary of the Grand Ole Echo concert series at the Echo nightclub in Echo Park, of course, on Sunset Boulevard. Grand Ole Echo is devoted to Americana, which is the blend of folk, country, and roots rock music I love so much. It's guest curated by Kim Grant and Liz Garrow, a couple of the original producers and bookers of the Grand Ole Echo. And the anniversary bash will be headlined by the wonderful, dulcet-voiced queen of L.A. Americana. And you've had her on the show, Mark, Leslie Stevens, one
She's
of my
terrific.
favorites.
Yeah.
And Gwendolyn, Smoke Holler, the Heartstring. It's going to be great. I did want to get all that in. And let's get down to brass tacks, shall we?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Everything is going extremely well.
Okay.
Okay, let's kick it off with, I have the little mea culpa. The new reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer is a horror franchise, and it's coming back as of today in theaters. And I could either see that movie or the new film by Ari Aster, the esteemed director, a movie called Eddington. And I went for Eddington because I know what they did last summer. I saw the earlier films. What do I need to see another one for? Anyway, one thing is for certain about filmmaker Ari Aster. He is not afraid to take chances, to be bold. Of course, that can be risky too. His first two major motion pictures, Hereditary and Midsummer, were stunning examples of what's known as elevated horror. I mean, Aster's ability to generate dread in these films, nothing short of bone-chilling. But his most recent movies, Beau is Afraid, and this new one, Eddington, are less effective because he just tries to do too much. Interestingly, both Eddington and Beau is Afraid star Joaquin Phoenix, for better or worse. I mean, this guy's greatest gift appears to be playing misfits that can make you squirm by just watching them. Yeah, Eddington is a period film, by the way, and that period is very recent, the early days of the COVID pandemic. Specifically, May 2020, when masking and social distancing were considered mandatory for people's health. So Phoenix plays Joe Cross, the sheriff of a small New Mexico town, Eddington, which is on the verge of having a high-tech business open shop there if everything falls into place. So Joe hates and defies the COVID mandates. Meanwhile, his marriage to wife Louise, played by Emma Stone, is a cold affair, which is kind of hard on Joe since he'd like to have kids. So at a personal crossroads, he decides to win the mayorship of Eddington from the local Hispanic-American businessman and current mayor, Ted Garcia, played by the ubiquitous Pedro Pascal, who's been in every movie ever and TV show.
You're right. I mean, he's pretty much everywhere.
He's about to shine as one of the stars of the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, which we'll talk about next week. So Joe is clearly in short fuse mode, which is exacerbated when the local youths take up placards in the aftermath of George Floyd's death and start demonstrating in the heart of, Eddington. So something's got to give. And something does. The cast is blue ribbon, including Austin Elvis Butler in a small but notable role. The cinematography is, I got to call it upper echelon. And there are scenes that are absolute knockouts with bursts of like sharp satire, some brutal action. But the disparate elements, the political and social strife, the personal angst, the takes on the digerati, corrupt business practices, black ops, trickery, and religious cults just don't hold together, nor does Eddington's lead character, this guy, Joe Cross, inspire much empathy. So Eddington is fascinating and compelling until it gets lost up its own butt. Still, an Ari Aster misfire is more interesting than so many other features out there, and his attempt to address the schisms and the bad faith in actors that are tearing America apart, as we know, is laudable, even if it comes off as too massive an undertaking in Eddington. It's in theaters. His work is always compelling, but I think maybe he should get back to horror. I don't know what to say. This is a horror of sorts.
Yeah, you don't. And it's too bad. It seems like a lot of the primordial ooze of a good movie was there, but laudable's a ding word.
It just doesn't. It just. I'm not going to not recommend it. I just feel like it's a challenge.
It missed. You felt it could have been more.
Yeah, or maybe it was just, like I said, too much. Okay, let's go from that to something a little more ridiculous. The shockingly enduring little blue sprites known as the Smurfs.
Oh, yeah.
Created in the late 1950s by Belgian cartoonist Peyo for a comic series. And seemingly with us forever, they're back in Smurfs. Very creative title. It's yet another animated, and I put this in quotes, romp with the venerable, and I use the term advisedly, intellectual property. I couldn't have been less impressed, Mark.
Wow.
You know, I'm a big animation aficionado.
You are. That's again, venerable's a ding word.
And, you know, all the voice talent in the entertainment business. And let me just point out that John Goodman voices Papa Smurf, who was stolen by Razamel and Gargamel, a couple of evil wizards, of course. You know, there's always going to be some evil wizards around.
What?
And Rihanna, who they've given top billing to, is voicing Smurfette. But, you know, all of the technical expertise brought to bear in the interest of creating a fantasy world won't save a lame, relentlessly silly, yet unfunny script that continues to lean on the word Smurf as a prefix or suffix attached to normal words for laughs. You know, I'm feeling all smurfed up here right now.
I see.
So when it was over, the only truly blue thing was my mood. It is in theaters. I do have to point out, director Chris Miller has done some cool stuff. I love Rihanna's Shut Up and Drive. I mean, she's a fantastic performer and
so,
singer.
well, wait a minute. So, like, is this kind of like in the category of the first film, that Eddington film, where you said, well, you know, it's not awful, but
no, it's kind of crap.
This is this worse?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Eddington is, you know, thought-provoking. This is like mind-numbing. And, you know.
So this totally misses for you.
Listen, here's the voice cast. I mean, they figure, let's throw as many names as possible in here. And Pixar doesn't really do that. They get the right voice for the right job.
I see.
Even when they fail. But in addition to Goodman and Rihanna, Kurt Russell, James Corden, Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman's so good in Sovereign, that film that I raved about last week.
Absolutely right.
But Dan Levy, Amy Sedaris, Natasha Lyonne kicking butt in Poker Face, and then like getting a paycheck to do the voice of Mama Poot in Smurfs. Our boy Jimmy Kimmel, who has not been canceled quite yet, does a voice. Octavia Spencer. Oh, God, what a waste of talent. Anyway, let's move on to something more interesting. And again, this is the week of mediocrity, I think. Finally, Dawn has its charms for anybody who gets off on inside showbiz chicanery and loves all things Italian, like I do. I love their fashion, their architecture, their history, their cuisine. Anyway, this is just not up to the lofty standards of the masterful Italian filmmakers Fellini and De Sica, even if it's a period film partially set in and shot at the legendary Italian movie studio Cinecittà, which is where those guys made most of their films.
Wow, you're really disappointed because you're such a film historian kind of person.
Well,
you're saying it's
but
there.
this still had some interest for me.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Finally, Dawn, go ahead.
But the time is 1950s in Rome. And we have a newcomer, a young actress from Italy named Rebecca Antonacci, and she is incredibly appealing as a naive Roman girl named Mimosa, whose sister wants to audition as an extra in a big sword and sandals movie being shot at Cinecittà. So she comes along with her sister, and she's the one that gets tapped for a featured extra role. And she's caught up while there in the orbit of two American movie stars in town to make this Swords and Sandals epic at Cinecittà. And those actors are played by the noted and versatile English rose Lily James, who broke through as a young aristocrat in Downton Abbey and went on to embody Pamela Anderson in Pam and Tommy. That is versatility.
Wow.
And Joe Keery, best known as one of the older kids on Stranger Things, the Netflix horror TV favorite. He's grown up, let's put it that way. James plays a pampered, privileged, glamorous, demanding, and shallow Hollywood leading lady, Josephine Esperanto. Curie is Josephine's younger, kind of obsequious, pretty boy co-star, Sean Lockwood. Hit the bell.
Yeah, Seacrest is definitely.
Okay. In this costume drama that brings Mimosa in as the spotlighted extra, and she catches the eye of both Josephine and Sean. And then, how about this? There's the always welcome Willem Dafoe in the cast as art curator Rufo Priori, who was Josephine's best friend in Italy. So it's packed with talented people. And as the movie wraps with the movie within the movie, the two stars, the art curator and the innocent novice actress, head to a hoity-toity party in a villa, and Mimosa gets a look at the more sordid side of the upper crust. So director and screenwriter Saverio Costanza has previously worked on the wonderful TV series My Brilliant Friend. And he brought in the wonderful actress and the narrator of My Brilliant Friend, Alba Rohrwacher, to play an Italian film star in Finally Dawn. So all the pieces are in place, right? But it's hard-pressed to measure up to the movies of the aforementioned Fellini, who worked in this milieu, the movie business and high society in Italy on a number of occasions. And yet, for me, it's sung a little bit, because it's something I was fascinated by. The performers were all wonderful. It is in select theaters and available this weekend for streaming on demand. It's called Finally Dawn.
I feel as though it falls into the same category as some of the other stuff you've talked about. Which is kind of like there's a lot good here. It just didn't quite live up to the expectations that you had.
Well, that would be the case for this and Eddington, and
your Smurfs, you said, is just a throwaway.
And speaking of throwaways, and there are some interesting moments to it. Saint Clair is an overly familiar mix of the avenging angel killer trope and a young adult soap, top-lined by resolutely B or C level actors who are led by the effectless Bella Thorne as a college girl, Claire, with a troubled past, who has taken it upon herself to eliminate unsavory types, especially sexual predators. Watch out.
Wow.
This is going to be Epstein all over again.
Yeah.
And also there's Rebecca De Mornay as her foxy grandma. That's right. Rebecca De Mornay is playing a grandmother here, a former actress who is the girl's guardian. Ryan Phillippe is also here as a local police detective seeking to solve a very recent murder. Oh, no. Another serial vigilante on the loose. Look, it's not Dexter with boobs, but you'd be forgiven for saying so. It's called St. Clair. It has some interesting moments, but it's again below Eddington and Finally Dawn in the grand spectrum of good to bad. It's in select theaters and also available for streaming on demand. Quickly, I do want to mention, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but it's out there and it's a disappointment. The Old Guard 2 on Netflix, which is an action fantasy mystery drama about a bunch of immortal, I guess you'd call them Avengers, who have been around putting down the bad guys for years and years and years. And it stars the always compelling Charlize Theron, and also features Kiki Lane and various others. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this thing. Uma Thurman plays a villainess, and it would seem to be, okay, let's check this out. It's on Netflix. Compared to the first of these movies, which was directed by Gina Prince Blythewood, who did The Woman King, which was an Oscar-nominated film. This is pretty weak stuff. The script and no Prince Blythewood and a walk back of an important plot point of the first movie leave this kind of toothless in my
doesn't like the Old Guard too.
No, it disappointed the hell out of me.
By the there was the Old Guard 1.
I kind of liked it. Again, it's popcorn. It's a chewing gum for the brain, if you will.
Okay,
but it was kind of better than this thing turned
What
out.
else do you have for us, oh great culture blaster with limited time?
We have put off talking about television programs. I'm going to do a rapid fire bunch of quickies here. The fourth season of The Bear on FX Hulu, and what might be the final season, or at least, it seems like the end game to Squid Game on Netflix are available for watching, and they're both worth your time. And, we can elaborate at some point, but I'd like to talk briefly about Stick. Stick is on Apple TV Plus, and it stars Owen Wilson as Price Cahill. It's almost done its run, so, it's still kind of relevant. Price Cahill is a former championship-level pro golfer whose life, including his marriage, goes to hell after an ugly incident on the greens back in the day. But he meets this wunderkind, Santi, who is this uncommonly skilled teen golf whiz, and decides to coach the boy to greatness. So this results in a road trip from tournament to tournament to launch Santi's career. And along for the ride is Santi's pragmatic mother, his cute and snarky non-binary caddy, Price, of course, and Price's one true friend and former caddy, Mitz, since they're traveling in Mitz's mobile home. So the interpersonal elements are funny, sometimes sweet, and even poignant. And the golf aspects of the series are very well done. And it is so great to see former Bay Area comedian turned actor turned groundbreaking podcaster Mark Maron as Mitz. And the talent behind the camera includes some of the folks behind Scrubs and the movie Little Miss Sunshine.
Courtney loves Stick. I have only seen it up, but I really liked it. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny too.
It's charming. I just want to wrap up with one more note.
Yes,
I am a big sci-fi fan.
You are.
And Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the best Star Trek series probably since Deep Space Nine, going back to before when Kirk took over the Enterprise. The previous captain, Christopher Pike, who was depicted in flashbacks in the original series. It's on its third season, and I have to say that Anson Mount as Captain Pike is right up there with Picard.
Wow.
Sir Patrick Stewart as my favorite Star Trek Enterprise captain. This is great stuff. This is the young Officer Spock, played here by Ethan Peck, grandson of Gregory Peck.
Wow.
And he does a lovely job. And Rebecca Romaine, long thought to be, just sort of a bimbo model type turned actress, is terrific as number one, Una, who is the second in command on this. And, you put a black wig on a blonde like that, and suddenly her IQ goes up 100 points. No, anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Rebecca Romaine is great. And my big TV crush lately, Jess Bush as Nurse Chapel, the young Nurse Chapel. She was also a character on the original series. You have the young Uhura, you have the young Scotty, and it's just so much fun to watch.
I might jump on this one because most of the other stuff, I'm an originalist on this. I grew up with Star Trek, the original with Shatner and Nimoy,
Sure. Mark, you should watch this. Also, you get a young Jim Kirk on this thing. He shows up as a in training guy. I'm telling you, it's a bundle of fun. They even added Carol Kane, the great comic actress, this year or last year as an engineer. It's on Paramount Plus. That's the only downside. Paramount is on my naughty list now after what they did to Colbert. But
pretty rough.
Strange New Worlds works for me. Always a pleasure to come by, Mark. And
Star Trek Strange New Worlds. You can stream it on Paramount Plus. He likes it, really likes it. Says get into it. On Apple TV Plus, Stick. He likes it. He really likes it. Courtney really likes it. Former champion golfer meets the wonderkin that he coaches, and it really is both poignant, funny, and a great watch. He also mentions Squid Games. He says this is the last iteration probably of Squid Game 3.
They leave a door open, by the way, Mark, by having a little tag that suggests potentially an American Squid Game.
Oh,
it's a Korean set show, you know.
The fourth season of The Bear, which is likely to be the last season of The Bear. He likes that too.
I think not. They have all these dangling plot threads. They're coming back, Mark.
The Old Guard 2 with Charlize Theron and Uma Thurman. He says, should have quit after The Old Guard 1. St. Clair, the Avenging Angel story. Bella Thorne, Rebecca De Mornay as the grandmother, Ryan Philippe. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, Michael said, well, enough goes wrong that it's sort of like, so-so. Finally Dawn, the Italian pedigree that goes into this offering, had created hopes in the Culture Blaster. Lily James, Joe Curie, Willem Dafoe. He said, it doesn't quite live up to the pedigree, but or the expectations.
I enjoyed watching it, but you got to be straight up. It doesn't quite live up to the standards that were set by the greatest.
Depressed Canadian says with a $20 super chat, Willem Dafoe is the Pedro Pascal of character actors.
That is fair.
We need a weird 60-something. Get me Dafoe. He said,
boy, is that true.
That is really a great take.
I love your audience.
Yeah. I wanted to see if there's anything else related to that before I move on.
Smurfs.
Yeah, finally.
No, Smurfs first.
Finally, Dawn, not up to the Italian film pedigree, as I was just saying, but you do get a chance to see all those actors I mentioned. Smurfs with John Goodman, voicing Papa Smurf. Rihanna, voicing Smurfette. All of the other actors who wanted a big payday, voicing all the other stuff. It misses. Don't waste your time. And he started with Eddington. Ari Aster, written and directed. Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone. He said, nah, there's just, again, so much stuff there that could be good, that isn't bad, and even is a little thought-provoking.
Surely.
But you really are, you're doomed by your own expectations, Culture Blaster.
In this case, that's absolutely true.
You really want a lot, and somehow you get, it sounds to me like that was maybe a B- or B.
I would say C plus B minus. Hey, look, Astor is a true original. I'm glad that he's out there making movies. Maybe the next one will be up to the standards of his first two.
Michael, I like to read your stuff in addition to hear your stuff. And I can read it at thevoicesf.org. Thevoicesf.org is where you can read the Culture Blaster. If you like the Culture Blaster when he's speaking, you'll love him when he's writing.
Correct.
And, by the way, if you hate him when he's speaking, what a great thing that you can just read his stuff without having to listen to him speak.
How dare you?
He comes and goes.
I can't believe this. Go Giants. Oh, my God.
Bye-bye, Michael. We adore you. We adore you. I cannot be ever disabused of my great Michael Snyder.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, Kim, let me just quickly acknowledge a couple of important things to acknowledge. In the comments, Depressed Canadian says, Depressed Canadian, thank you for all the super chats today.
Yeah.
Colbert being canceled is reminiscent of the Smothers Brothers being canceled during Nixon. Wow, that is a great reference, and I've not heard that reference from anyone. During the Vietnam War, the Smothers Brothers had a hit show on CBS. It was canceled. It was largely canceled because they were just too controversial.
Did they get into politics with that show?
Big time into politics, big anti-war. There was a big anti-war movement in America at the time. A friend of the show and former guest Carl Gottlieb, who also is the scribe of the movie Jaws. He wrote Jaws back in the 70s. He was a writer on the Smothers Brothers show, and he talks about that. And I believe in one of our conversations, he spoke about that, the fact that they were canceled during the Nixon administration. It was really thought of as a bow to pressure from the network. Rest in peace, LA County Sheriff's Department. There was an explosion at the LA County Sheriff's Department office today. Thank you, Jim Eaton, for that. We didn't get to really discuss it.
It was at a training.
Going on.
It was at a training facility, and 3 people died.
Really brutal. Really, really brutal. And from the brutal to the wild reference, I believe, to the Coldplay concert, this probably is Chaplain Fred with a $5 super chat saying, "Don't look at me, I didn't marry those people. Happy Friday." Yeah. And a random advice on the kiss cam at Coldplay concerts: avoid the kiss cam at Coldplay concerts, says Wes Theory. That would have been advice better landing maybe the night before the Coldplay concert.
I mean, what are the chances, though? There's so many people, thousands of people in the crowd, and they choose that couple. It's got to be.
Yeah, that was bad luck, but life is filled with bad luck, you know. Vilma says, with a $5 super chat, thank you, Vilma. Abe Lincoln always said, quote, "If we, America, falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves." So wonderfully said by an incredible president, right? Barry, with a $5 super chat, says, after listening to Mark and Anthony, I think I will get back on Prozac from 2016 to 2020 period. Yeah. Look, we give it to you straight, man. I don't give you the hopium. I don't give you the optimism. I'm such an optimist. I love optimism, but it's much more effective when it's fundamentally tethered to realism. West Theory with a $5 super chat. Ask ChatGPT, quote, what would happen if billionaires paid the middle class tax rate? No, that's a great great thing to ask ChatGPT. Richard Delamater with the $5 super chat. Thanks, my friend. Anthony always tells the hard truth. That's why I watch his show. That's why I watch this show. Yeah, I like this show more than his show. Thank you. Well, you can watch this show and his show, but first watch this show. Wait a minute, go back to it. I wasn't finished with it. So Anthony always tells the hard truth. That's why I watch this show. Just admit, game over, the end is near. I don't know, Richard, if the end is near, but I still, and this will come maybe as a surprise to you, given some of what I've said, I still have some faith in our ability to push back. But that might be my normalcy bias. I've told you before, I kind of have that. But I also just have to resist the end is near is really a dark thought. So I think the end has already come and gone on like many things. But when you say the end, that becomes a different question. Nicholas Buttman, thank you for $2 super chat. Johnny Carson's angry ghost should haunt Trump over the cancellation of Colbert. Thank you, Nicholas. Laugh-In got canceled due to an anti-war. Yeah. Oh, somebody else suggesting a Laugh-In, Smothers Brothers. I don't know if Laugh-In was. I didn't remember that, if that's true. I know Smothers Brothers was canceled because of Vietnam and anti-war material making its way increasingly into the Smothers Brothers comedy sketches and all of their remarks. And that, I think, was vexing to the Nixon administration. I don't know about Laugh-In, but maybe you're right. Midas Touch wrote Colbert a letter inviting him to do his show on their platform, says Maggie. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, again, I don't know if that's, who knows? That might be the way it goes. I really don't. And this on Friday Fabulous Florida. Katzenjam says, I remember on Heart to Heart, one episode they had a chase in golf carts with the dramatic chase music. I love the idea of a chase. I'd love to talk to you, Culture Blaster, sometime about the best chase sequences. You could give us some examples.
Well, one would, we don't have the time, but I'm a San Franciscan. Bullet,
yeah, I get it. So, but there are others besides Bullet. Yeah, but Johan says, I just started to look at the show, just arrived, about the socks and Kim and Mark. Mark, would you wear underwear with Kim's name on it? We have these
Mark,
socks here.
would you?
I would. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? I'm serious. Why wouldn't I? I don't understand Kim on a lot of levels, to be perfectly honest.
It's not your name on the socks. It's just,
It's not, plus it's not my name. It's the show we do together.
It
says the Mark Thompson Show. Show. It's not my name, Mark Thompson. I mean, I get it. The show's called that. But that's because the only reason the show's called that is because that's the show we did in San Francisco, and we took the show over here. I would love to wear, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll wear underwear with Kim's name on it if she can just send them to me. All right.
That means I have to have them made or self-embroider them. Plus, I don't think Courtney would like that.
Judy says, herbal tea is steeping for the after party live. I hope I can stay awake. Well, that's great. Kim does the after party live. Doesn't she send me some after party live, Mark?
After party live underwear would be great, but also is it like an invitation or something for after party live?
I see. Yeah. It could be it's a little too provocative, you think? Zero Sum says there'll be many shows shut down on TV and the internet and radio as well. The regime is just getting started with purging decency. Spooky times ahead. Yeah. Oh, with purging dissent is what you're saying. I see. Okay. So any dissent will be purged. Well, I completely agree with that. So sadly, I'd like to argue with you, and I'd like to argue for goodness and niceness winning. That's the way it is in the movies. Goodness and niceness wins. But in real life, maybe something different. Michael D says, I propose putting Kim and Albert's name at the toe end of the socks in the next production.
We're going to add Tony in there, too. Tony.
Yeah, I got to add Tony. Yeah, Tony would be...
Thanks, Tony.
Right.
We'll put Tony on the heel.
Yeah, Tony. Man, people have big plans for the socks. All right. Thank you, everybody. Great week. A lot going on. We try to get in as much as we could. We have limited time with some great guests. Thanks to Anthony Davis again, to Jim Avila again, to all of our guests this week. Next week, we have more. I think some special guests joining us next week. and Kim hosting the show on her own next Thursday and Friday. Yeah, I believe. Is it next week or? I think it's next week.
Who's in charge here? What's happening?
Anyway, After Party Live next, and Shadow, if you would please, for the weekend.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim is over on the After Party Live station.
All the time. Bye-bye.
All the time. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.